Well, good morning, everybody. So great to see such a nice audience with us today. I know that this topic is as important to you as it is to me. I am Debbie Stanley. I am with the nonprofit Success Group. We like to say that your success is our mission so that you can focus on your mission. So I promise we'll keep this to a quick 30 minutes, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end, but feel free to drop off if you don't want to stay past then. So with no further ado, I want everybody to know that we are just on fire about this topic over here at the Nonprofit Success Group. But we have also been in your shoes. The stress of everything happening at once. But we are here to introduce a brand new concept that might change everything. Oh my gosh, somebody just said that I am not on camera. I know that everybody wants to see me, so there you go. Um, so we are just so motivated about this topic because the statistics are terrifying. And if we don't do something, well, it's um, it's just going to get worse. So, what we are going to talk about today are the 4 strategies to improve donor retention. So, think about it, we're your firefighters for today. This is a on fire topic. It is a challenge that we all face as fundraisers every single day. So, we're going to introduce these 4 strategies as well as some assistance to help you get there. So, sit back, buckle up, and let's see where we go. So, first of all, let me tell you a little bit about me. I've been in fundraising for over 25 years, I'd like to say. I am a CFRE. In fact, I've been a CFRE for almost 15 years. I work a lot on peer to peer and other kind of newer concepts in fundraising. I'm an expert in something called customer success. I worked for Blackbot. I worked for several other nonprofit technology organizations. And I'll get more into the weeds about this a little bit more as we go along. But the synergy between customer success and technology translates very well into donor retention strategies. As I said, I'm with the Nonprofit Success Group. We specialize in a variety of fundraising support, everything from top to bottom strategy assessment, followed by an execution of those strategies. We'll look at your case for support. In fact, webinar coming up in a couple of weeks is going to really dive into why that case for success is so important, why it should be up to date, why it needs to be reviewed, revised based on everything going on in the world. We'll do the very traditional board training, board retreats. We can also help develop a new communication strategies, building out the cadences or the type of engagement that you're looking for. We can help you across the board. There's no one size fits all. I think what really sets the Nonprofit Success Group head and shoulders above some other consulting firms out there is that we're not just the talking heads. We're actually going to come in, work alongside you to help build the type of program that you want to be sustainable so your mission can be successful. So now with no further ado, let's jump right in. In the latest Giving USA report, it indicated that individual giving continues to remain flat. Now, while that's scary enough for us, we're facing this recession, challenging economic times. But what terrifies me is that less than 30% of your donors are sticking with you. I'm sorry, 40%. Less than 40% of your donors are sticking with you and giving a second gift. That means when you talk to 10 people in a week, 6 of them are not going to show up again. That's really scary. It just makes your work so much harder. In the fundraising effectiveness report, they looked at the fact that donor retention rate is down from 37% last year to 35% this year. I just pulled these numbers last week. The donation retention rate is still less than 50%. Now, if this translated into the for-profit sector, they would close their doors. You know, Blackbot has a 92% retention. Um, I'm sorry, I lied. They have a 77% retention. A big part of that is because of Razor's Edge, because of Financial Edge. They lock you in using these operational solutions, but that's being jiggled free. That was why Blackbot hired me to help them with their customer success program, because money was bleeding out the door. But if you look at people like Apple and Android, Apple continues to grow. If I did, I'll just do a quick, like, raise your hand if you have an Apple phone. I can't, I mean, can't. I can see 3 people that didn't raise their hands, but everybody in my house except for my husband has an Apple phone. I would never go back to an Android phone. That is the type of stickiness that we are looking for in our nonprofit donors. But unfortunately, it's tough. You know, think about Amazon. Amazon is 91% in year one, 96% in year two. But what's fascinating, 73% on that 30 days. That 30-day retention is dropping, but a big part of that is that they convert those members into Prime memberships. So there's a little bit in play there. But what our for-profit friends know is that this is directly tied to profitability. If they develop ways to keep these donors engaged, these customers engaged, those customers will stay. Now, let's be honest, some of artificial intelligence has made some of Amazon's practices, well, just a little scary. I mean, but we like our 2-day shipping, and that's the reason most Prime members stay. Now, we can't afford 2-day shipping. We can't offer that type of incentive. Sorry about that, everybody. But what we can do is we can start to understand the trend. If you look at this, our first time donor retention rate is like 20%. But if we can reactivate them, it goes much higher. If we can get them to become a monthly donor or give that second, that third gift, it goes up to 50%. Start thinking about this and think about this in terms of your business. If you are only retaining 40% of your revenue year over year, so if you have $1 million nonprofit, you are only retaining 400,000, which means you've got to hunt another 600,000 every year. Change that just slightly to 56%. Now I've got 560,000 that I'm retaining. My job as a development officer just got a bit easier. But I think the first thing that we want to understand is, why do these donors leave? So according to that same Giving USA report, these are the top 5 reasons that donors leave, with number 5 being much lower. In fact, in a recent survey, over 87% of people showed high confidence in the nonprofits that are working in their community. But there's a variety of reasons why you don't get that second gift. I would challenge you that the biggest reason that they leave is because you don't ask them to stay. You never ask them, hey, I'm so glad you're here. Please stay with us. So for the past several years, I've run customer success teams for software companies focused on helping nonprofits use technology well. I want to support your goals. I want you to not buy a piece of software and then never use it. I created multiple programs and helped nonprofits all over the world. I did this by truly listening, but most importantly, following some basic best practices: the alignment of the goals, successful onboarding, retention marketing, and segmented communications. So when I saw this number, and I kept hearing this being talked about, it dawned on me that I might have a new way of thinking, a paradigm shift for the industry that may just turn this number around. One would hope. So I want to introduce to you something we call the donor success model. Now, all of the concepts that we use in the for-profit world for customer success, they really do translate directly into new ways to engage your donors. It's creating a process to ensure that your donors are achieving their desired outcomes while supporting your organization. It's relationship focused, that aligns the supporter and the organization with mutually beneficial outcomes. Okay, I can hear you already. What are you talking about? Desired outcomes. That's a crazy thing to think about. Of course, we want to cure cancer. Of course, we want to have a safe place for the horses. Of course, we need to help women who have been abused. What kind of desired outcome are you talking about, my friend? Well, I'm glad you asked. So we know some of those common threads on why people give to your organization: an affinity, a social desire to make a difference, religion, family, a friend asked them to. But I would challenge you that their true desired outcome is really unknown unless you ask them. Now, the simple definition of outcome is this: something that happens as a result of an activity or a process. But in the words of several donors, these are the reasons they stopped giving. So the bottom line is that the outcome that happens many times is a bad thing. I had to ask 5 times for a tax receipt. They never told me what happened with that program that they asked me to support. But again, I get it. There are time constraints. There are challenges that crop up every day. There are personnel, there's executive director, there are boards. how am I supposed to have these type of conversations? So with us today, we have a variety of sizes of organizations from large to a couple of really small. And I will promise you one thing. You all have one thing in common. Not enough time and too much to do. But I promise you that if you follow these guidelines, it will definitely help. And they're not that hard to implement. And of course, as a consulting firm, we are here to help you. And we'll talk more about that as we go along. So let's dive right into strategy number one. Know your numbers. Um, I was at an AFP conference and the speaker said, how many of you know your retention number? I was positively shocked when less than 10% of the people in the room raised their hand. So if you don't know your retention rate, you can't measure how to improve it. You can't make better something you don't know. So if you do nothing else, do this analysis. Now, in the most simplest of terms, you don't need a quadratic equation. How many of your first time donors gave a second gift? Just figure that out. I always like to say, you won't get anywhere if you don't get on the train. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't know that number. But Debbie, we don't have time. We have other priorities. Understand your retention rate. And most of the time, your CRM will provide you that information. I would challenge you to take an hour or two and validate it. Understand how they're calculating that retention rate. Because are they looking at that second gift rate, or are they looking at the donations? So we know that donor retention is dollar retention. I want you focused on those donors, retaining those donors. It's not just about the dollars. It is retaining those donors, getting that second gift. We can help you with this. Promise. It's what we do. So why does this matter? So as I talked about earlier, let's say you have 6,000 annual donors. 40% retained is 2,400 versus 30% retained, 1,800. So if you've got an average gift size of $72 and I'm able to help you retain 10% more donors, that equals almost $43,000 more a year. So that can really add up. The math matters. If you can increase your revenue even slightly, you will add more dollars for your organization, less work by you, and be able to create a better outcome for your donors. Of course, we've got the SIBEND, we've got the LIBEND, we've got all of this. And that's important. But you don't need a LIBEND and a SIBEND if you are creating a great donor experience from day one. Then you're not losing donors. And hopefully you're only losing a handful. And the big bulk of your donors are staying. Like I said, every CRM should help you run this, should help you figure this out. If not, let us know. We've worked on multiple CRMs. We can pull a quick Excel using the account numbers, anonymize your data, and give you an exact donor retention rate. Then we can help you sort and segment to see that information, very important information. Just let us know how we can help. But most importantly, arrive at that destination, know your number. Okay, step 2 is onboarding. I had just said you don't need a bunch of LIBEND and SIBEND if you're creating a great donor experience from day one. Now, we all talk about, the supporter journey and yada, yada, yada. Um, but the key is, sorry, oopsie, um, that's creating a very strong early experience. So you don't want your donor to have donor remorse. Now, in sales and in tech, we get very complex in those 30 days. At Blackbaud, we had a 30-day webinar, a 45-day webinar, a meet and greet, a bunch of stuff. You don't have time for that. And I would not ask you to have the time for that. But you do want to have this 30-day cadence. Now, that communications cadence is really, it's a welcome, it's an initiation, and it's a follow-up. As simple as that. So within 7 days, I really want it within 24 hours, but I'm going to be nice. In 7 days, send a thank you every Monday morning. You should run a report of who your first-time donors were from your previous week. And you are going to send them a thank you email and how much they gave that just is warm, welcoming, and then introduces you or whoever is going to be the point of contact. Let them know that you're going to be reaching out, that you want to talk to them, you want to be engaged with them. The second is initiation. That's when you're going to make that phone call, make that outreach. Um, what is their desired outcome? How did they come to know about your organization? How did they find you? All of that information, then capture it. Then your third step within that 30 days is recounting that conversation, thanking them again for their donation, letting them know that you're going to pay attention, and then inviting them to make a second gift of some sort. We're going to talk about what that second gift ask can look like, but this is your 30, 45, 60-day should follow that exact cadence: welcome, initiation, and then a follow-up. If you've done that well, you should see a tick up in your retention rate, which leads us to retention marketing. Now, you've boarded the train, you know your number. Now it's time for that journey. We've welcomed them in. Now we've got these donors. Perhaps we've gotten a second gift, perhaps we haven't. What we do all the time as fundraisers is we put one message out there, everybody gets the same thing. What marketing experts in the for-profit world do is they say, hey, Joe, I see you're interested in scuba diving equipment. Hey, Sue, I see you're interested in basset hounds. You get my drift. We don't always have that type of information. So what we want to do is want to keep this as simple as possible. There's a big difference between segmentation and targeting, but both points apply here. You want to understand the people behind your numbers. When you did your initiation call and you understood how they came to be, now's the time where you're segmenting and targeting the messaging based on what they wanted that outcome to be. Now, you could have 50 different outcomes people give you. You're going to narrow it down and you're going to say, we want to talk to this group, and this group. And those are our three messages. Not that hard, and it doesn't take that much to do. You want to understand, how did they become their donors? Was it through an event, through a direct mail? Now, talk to them properly. Even with the resources of a for-profit entity, time is still a premium. So we focus on something we call the ideal customer profile. So for our purposes, I'm going to talk to it like the above average donor. So if you know your average donation is $72, you want to talk to this group as a whole. This is your group that came in through direct mail with an average donation. That's one message point. But you want to talk to, sorry, you want to talk to your specific person, sorry, that person, that's what I was trying to get to. You want to talk to that person specifically, keeping everything on point so that you're able to move that above average donor up that donor pyramid. And yes, don't get me started on that soapbox. I believe the donor pyramid is alive and well. So now that we've got our segments, I want to talk to them in a voice that they understand. Now, most of our clients use, like I said, use the same message to acquire new donors as they do to solicit gift, as they do to steward new donors, and that's a mistake, and that's what reflects in your results. So as I said, we're going to create a couple of simple segments. Then we're going to create a cadence to go to those segments. If you look at this, this includes some very out of the ordinary suggestions, like a LinkedIn post, Twitter, even the breakup email. But the key to understanding and the key to any cadence is understanding where they are in their journey so that you can use your time and resources wisely. There are literally thousands of tools out there that can help you write your content, but there are few that help you create your cadences. This is one example, and these are your four segmentations. I'm sorry, your five segmentations. And this is much simpler content calendar. And if you just let me know, I'll share this with you. It's we've got onboarding, retention marketing, and upselling or increasing gifts. We're going to tell them a little bit about our mission. We're going to include a story. We're going to do an ask. We're going to tell future plans. We're going to do another ask. This is all spelled out with these three simple segmentations. So this is just 120 days to help you mix your messaging, varying your communications. So you're engaging with the donors more than just simply asking for money. You can send an update that congratulates them on helping reach that goal. Make sure they know you couldn't have done it without them. This should all be automated. Even MailChimp, Constant Contact will allow you to create these cadences and keep them going. I do want to spend 1 second on that breakup email. If you've got people that you've communicated with in a very thoughtful and intentional manner, they're not opening, they're not replying, they're not engaging, bless them and release them. You want to focus your attention on those that you can engage deeper and get them more connected to your organization. So you've made them happy. You've created a simple cadence of phone calls, emails, snail mails, birthday, whatever. So they're happy with their donation. They're engaged. Now we want to start looking at where we take them from here. So you guys have all been there with your customer success person from Bloomerang, from Blackbot, from fill in the blank. It's like, hey, don't you need this feature? Hey, don't you want to do this? Hey, don't that's the upsell strategy used by tech companies. I don't want you doing that, but I do want you to be thoughtful and intentional. If you've got giving circles, Those are a great natural fit. You know, set up those onboarding cadences, set up those 120-day strategies. Once a year, you want to do a monthly, I'm sorry, once a year, you want to do a check in on all of your donors. I call this the thankathon. It gives you the opportunity to thank every single donor. I also think once a month, check in on those first time donors that gave the same time last year. Um, just making sure that you're engaging with them properly. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there are a number of ways that you can get that second gift, that you can get somebody to re-engage with your organization. Did they come in as a peer-to-peer? Well, ask them to be a fundraiser. Your data will inform you what is the best next ask, but you need to be using that data properly. If they are an event donor, invite them to another event. Invite them to invite somebody to an event. Um, if they are fairly consistent, of course, invite them to be a recurring donor. There are a number of different ways that you can do that. The key is do it and do it well. Um, all of these actions, all of these strategies that we've talked about, they can give you huge results. If you've gotten that first interaction, that first donation, and if you're smart, you're going to get a donation. You're going to get people to buy an event ticket. Most importantly, you've now created a true donor for your organization. I truly hope that all of this was helpful. Um, but I just want to encourage you, don't have time, ask for help. Ask your board. A thankathon is a great way to get your board involved. Just give them a list of 10 names, have them call them. Volunteers can sort records and add tags into your donor database. You know, it's the ongoing fundraiser dilemma. You got a lot you got to do. Debbie, I got to acquire new donors. I got to retain donors. I got to broaden my donors' giving capacity. I'm just going to challenge you that if you use this donor success model, that one in the middle is going to become much, much easier. Which, what does that mean? You no longer have to acquire as many. And now you've got deeper relationships with the donors that you do have. You know, the gig economy is growing at a steady pace. You've got Uber. My kid has beer delivered to my house. Why not take advantage of it? You can hire in some transitional staff from someone even like us, where you can get some expert help for a fraction of the cost. We actually have some virtual assistants working around the world that can help make things happen. They can do tagging. Again, we'll anonymize the data. But let's be honest, that 10% is real money. And nonprofits are not investing in these donor retention strategies. That is why we see these donor retention rates continue to drop. It truly does matter, which is why we care so much about this topic, and why we are so focused on tackling the technology to help you create successful stewardship programs. Keeping donors matters. That 10% equals real dollars, but less than 20% of the nonprofits we talk to have a true donor retention strategy. So we have a special offer for those of you here today. This will include all of these steps. We'll run your numbers. We'll create a new donor journey within your CRM using your email marketing tools. We'll write the scripts and we'll set up a 120-day donor retention marketing cadence. This will be fully embedded into your workflows. So when we walk out your door, you will be able to deploy this completely on your own. Listen, we care about this. We care about helping you. We care about your communities. Let us help. Your success is our mission. Thank you all so much for sticking with us today. We did go over, so if you have any questions, feel free to email or call. Have a great day.